Regulating your emotions is probably the most important skill that you can develop over the course of your lifetime, and it's never too late to start. Hi, I'm Asul Diaz. I'm a certified professional coach and life architect, and I help high-functioning individuals to recalibrate their life. What this means is to have more of what they do, but feel better doing it and improve their health while they're doing it. Emotional regulation has become something that is completely out of whack. We have forgotten how to regulate emotionally. And I believe it's partially because we are outsourcing how we regulate. What does this mean? This means that when we feel any kind of discomfort, whether it be boredom, sadness, anger, whatever, we rely on certain crutches that perhaps we didn't have before. Scrolling is one, substance, whether it be sugar, alcohol, coffee, anything else, and any kind of way that we find that it's a quick fix for the emotion, right? And what happens with having these crutches is that we never regulate ourselves fully. We kind of just numb the emotional aspect of how we are doing in the moment and putting something else in that place, right? Which ultimately doesn't actually improve how we're feeling. It actually just numbs it for a little bit. And why this is so impactful in our lives is that emotions rule what we do. We have this belief that humans are very rational beings, but we're actually pretty emotional. And there is a simple frame that we use in professional coaching where we know that every action is actually linked to an emotion. There is a thought, a core thought, then a core emotion, and then an action. So this setting, what it does is that every single action is linked first to an internal thought that leads to an emotion, and then there's action that follows, right? So when the emotion is not regulated, when we don't choose how we feel, we don't choose the action. We lose control of what we actually do because we don't know how to regulate emotionally. I'll give you a very concrete example. This week, well, actually last week, I was invited to be part of a podcast, and I thought it went okay while I was doing it, but ultimately afterwards, I realized I had missed all my key messages, and I was unsure if I had really connected with the host or if I'd connected with the audiences, and that just led me to a lot of rumination in my mind of basically feeling that I had blown up this chance to be in a very important podcast. And that led to a specific emotion that at the time was disappointment and sadness. When we experience these emotions, it's easier to go into a state of overwhelm and therefore of inaction. I could have ultimately thought, wow, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I'm not good enough to do this because I'm stuck in this, emotional state of mind of sadness and disappointment. But then I reframed, and this is what I do with clients. I take them through this thought process so that we go back to the core thought. My core thought was, I blew my chance, right? I didn't perform as well as I should have, which led me to sadness, which led me to thinking about, oh my God, I need to rethink my career. So we went back to the thought. I went back with myself to the thought, and I rechanged this, and I thought, okay, maybe I didn't perform as good as I wanted to, but it was also a first time that I was doing this kind of exposure. Of course, it wasn't going to be perfect. And actually, I walked out of the experience having very clear learning possibilities, right? I knew what kind of skills I wanted to improve in order to be better next time. And this actually created a whole different emotional as a stimulation, the emotional response, because now I was excited to learn, right? All of a sudden I changed from being sad to being excited for the opportunity of growth. And what happened with the action? Well, the action was completely different. I thought, okay, I actually need more experience doing this kind of interaction. So actually, let me start a YouTube channel. Let me start pitching myself to other podcasts and other opportunities so I get to exercise this muscle. So seeing how the situation was the same situation, right? Nothing else has changed. I had already recorded the podcast. It had already went how it went. I could not change that. The only thing that I could change was my own emotional reading of the situation, which led to very distinct actions, right? And how you can apply this is, first of all, by becoming aware of your emotions. We don't talk enough about emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is not actually about feeling a lot. It's actually about being able to name emotions, to be very aware of what you're feeling, naming that emotion, and then being able to work through the emotion. Because once you're able to work through your emotional being, right, you can dictate what actions you take. And once you dictate what actions you can take, you dictate your trajectory, your journey. Because your journey and where you're going is just a set of actions, right? So remember, if you are able to learn how to regulate your emotions through first awareness, name the emotion. When an emotion is coming up, name it. You saw how in the podcast I named it, I was sad and disappointed. Okay, I have information there. How can I now go back to the thought that created that emotion to change it so I can change the emotion? I went from sad and disappointed to excited to learn, which led me to a completely different action. I will put in the comments this frame of thought, emotion, and action so you have something concrete to walk away with. Now, see you next time.